Good afternoon and welcome to our teaching strategies for digital webinar. I am your hostess, Dawn, and I'm the program and work coordinator at SACAP. Our host and panelist today is Tiffany Erasmus. Tiffany has quite a long-standing of digital teaching. She's got quite a lot of experience in it, and we're really looking forward to hear what she's got to share with us today. Over to you, Tiffany.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited for you to join today. And I'm excited that you are joining this. I just want to be very clear. I'm a hands-on teacher. I really do believe that students learn by doing, and that's the approach in which I will do the teaching strategies for the digital learner. I also want to tell you that these are based on my experiences of what I'm doing in the classroom and the way that I approach certain things. Please use these tools. I want you to follow along. If you've got an extra device, please feel free that when I do some of the demonstrations that you open up your devices with me, follow along. Ask the questions at the end. I'd love to address them. And also just know that this is not the everything Bible of how everything goes or work. So please make sure that you do take the responsibility to find out the different strategies from different persons and different teachings. So from my point of view, this is my experiences, and I really hope it's going to help you just taking your teaching strategies to the next level. So we're going to look at the list of content on the next slide. In this, we're basically just going to look at the introduction. We're going to ask the question, why do we embrace digital tools? I'm going to show you a lot of examples of things that I use in the classroom, what hands-on learning approaches look like. I'm going to show you some interactive activities, how I integrate that digital tools with the hands-on learning. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to address or start this. And I'm hoping that even if you're a starter, that you can have some tips to just take it to the next level. The next thing is then we'll go over to the conclusions, and that's when we're going to go over to the question and answer section. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the slide. So I want you to welcome and say, look, let's embrace digital tools in the classroom. I know that sometimes it can be daunting, especially knowing how students react when they have devices and just the safety of digital learners. So I want you to make sure that in the seminar, you're going to have a little bit more tools to make it a bit more comfortable. I'm going to talk you through all the benefits of the tools, try and equip you with some things to help you implement that in the classroom. I'm going to walk you through a lesson plan as well. Please take those tips and tricks in your classroom. And then I'm going to make sure that you have the ability to leverage that interactive tools and technology in your classroom and align that with your learning outcome. So we'll go over why do we actually embrace digital tools in our classroom? Now, I need you to understand that digital tools doesn't really necessarily only mean that you have a device in your classroom. It also means that you as a teacher are using that tools to give that personalized learning experience. These tools help you to do a lot of interaction with the students, especially if you've got a shy student or a student that doesn't want to talk, but they're really good at writing or they're really good at discussions. Some students might be more comfortable doing it in person, but if you've got a shy student, they might be more willing to participate and learn when they can actually type something. So it gives that personalized learning and different strategies to make sure that all students are involved. I want you to just think about data-driven insights. Once you have a system that's digital and you feed any information in it, it provides you with data that you can actually use to utilize in your classroom. And that's what I want you to think about. When you have a learning system where you actually feed in grades for students, or you get feedback on questions that they're doing, which is some of the programs I'm going to show you, you can analyze that data to then apply to your teaching practices to then adjust or make changes to make sure that you reach all the students. Or sometimes things are not as evident in your classroom. You might not pick it up, but you may pick it up when you look at the data. And that's the best way of teaching, is when you respond to the feedback that you're getting. And that's going to stretch beyond the feedback from the students. and you can actually break it down individually. And what's nice about digital tools is they do it so quickly that you can just utilize that information and change it on a click of a button. So I'm very excited to show some of those tools, and we're going to practice some of those things today. And obviously, anything that is just visual for all of us, it's colorful, it's things that we do, that we're hands-on, is definitely a lot more engaging than sitting in a classroom where you have a teacher talking in front. Now, I do want to tell you that there's definitely a space for lecture in a classroom, and I don't want you to disregard that at all. I want to give you tools that you can enhance that learning and change it into different sections today. So we can go over to the next section. This is also a big thing for us to think about. We're walking into 21st century learners. The learners we have in our classroom today needs to be prepared for the future. They need to be prepared to walk into a technology-driven environment where everything's going to be digital, everything's going to be computer-based. And it's so important for us as teachers to know that the future students that we have in front of us are going to walk into a work environment where they're just expected to work on a digital device or be able to just feel comfortable exploring and learning new things when they're not necessarily taught this. A really good example is just look at where we were when we were at school or where our parents were at school and just see how that changed when they had to go into the work environment where all of a sudden everything's emails, everything is go click onto this learning management system as a teacher or feed in your grades. And if you're not comfortable learning or exploring devices, having access to devices as a child, it makes it a lot more daunting. And our job as teachers is to make sure that we give that preparation for students. I always make the example of a car. I can try explain to you how to drive a car. I can even give you the theory in a book of how a car looks like. But unless you actually get into the car and you start practicing the driving, you will not actually be equipped enough or skilled enough to drive the car. And that approach is exactly what I take in a classroom. When we want to embrace digital tools, that exposure, even if it's small, is exactly what prepares the students and make them ready for the future that's going to come. The next thing is accessibility. It is so amazing for me to sit in another continent and be able to talk to students all over the world. Being able to do it on a Zoom call or going on YouTube gives that accessibility. And that's the amazing thing about digital things is you have the ability to give access to students that might not have other access or anywhere that they are traveling or doing things, they're at home, they're sick, anything like that, they still have the ability to access it. So that's so amazing. And I spoke about inclusivity in a way that some students might not be able to talk or they're more confident in doing a video or not, shy speaking in front of the classroom. That gives tools to actually include a lot of students into that learning. Obviously, it's collaborative opportunities. It is amazing to be in a world where all of us can actually go onto a phone call and phone somebody overseas or chat to each other on a chat system where we just talk or send messages or videos or all these things. And you can embrace exactly that into your classroom. We are so ingrained in the environment and we're not always recognizing how much this is already in our lives. And now we're just adjusting that to our classroom. So obviously, we want the students to enjoy coming to classroom. There's nothing more fulfilling as a teacher to have a student that's excited. So we want to create that dynamic, engaging environment for the students where they participate and feel like they're part of the learning. So we'll go over to the next part. A part of what I'm going to do is for this slide, I'm going to show or talk you through some of the digital tools that I use in my classroom. And I would say one of the most challenging things for me is there's so many tools available. Where do I start? And I'm hoping that if I start going over to these specific tools and I show you the different types that's available, that you then just think about one or two, and you don't have to use all of them. Like I said, they're there from experience and tools that I use in my classroom, and that's certainly like a very small amount of the digital tools that is available. But I'm going to show you the ones that I use the most in my classroom, and I'm going to show you how to use them once I go over to share screen. And then If you want to follow along and you have a device available, please go ahead and log in and try these things. I'm going to show you where to learn a little bit more about them and use them. So please go ahead and follow with that. I'm going to go through all the tools and I'm going to speak through the slide. Once I start sharing, sharing my screen. I'm actually going to go through each individual one without the presentation. So I just want you to be clear about what's going to happen so that you can prepare and follow along. So the very first tool I'm going to show you is Google Docs or Canva. I mostly use Canva for almost all my presentations and worksheets in my classroom. You're going to see why. It is a collaborative tool that now actually gives you the ability to create courses. It's very colorful, very interactive, fun to use. There's so many features I'm not even going to show you today, but I'm going to show you how to log in and how to prep yourself and take the responsibility to learn about it. So that's the first tool I'm going to show you. The second tool I'm going to show you is called Padlet. They have so many updates and templates that you can integrate in your classroom, and it's mostly got to do with collaborative learning where students can reply and give feedback in the form of discussion and participate in very fun ways. And you'll see when I get there how exciting that is. Flipgrid is more video-based learning where students can go home for homework or they in the classroom can have a small presentation of something that they're doing. I'm almost thinking that of like a do-it-yourself video. Sometimes I have students that doesn't have the ability to write strongly. They're much better in speaking or answering questions by talking. And this is a very fun way to change the answering of a question to instead of having a written question for somebody that's not as strong in writing or they're a second language learner, to all of a sudden go onto a video and answer that question virtually, and you will be able to give feedback. And you have access as a teacher to then take away the feedback and say, well, I'm going to give access to other students to see the answers and learn from the answers or respond to that answers. And that is where the collaboration comes in, is when you teach students to be digital citizenship, where they are very comfortable in working with digital tools, but also using it safely and being kind to each other. You as a teacher can manage the comments, you can manage what they have access to or not, but you can also make them engage into Flipgrid. Due to time, I might not be able to show all of them, but I'm going to do my best to do as many as possible. I'm then going to show you Nearpod. Between Nearpod and CurioPod, they're very similar. I'm just going to show you Nearpod today. CurioPod has got an extra feature that works with AI. And I know when I say AI, people go, oh, AI, it's such a new thing. Don't worry, I'm going to show you some tools and tricks about that today. And I'm going to show you specifically Nearpod and how wonderful these programs are. The next thing I'm going to show you is some interactive, PhET interactive. Me being mostly a chemistry teacher, one of the hardest things for me is to teach a concept to students that they've never seen before, and to then give them a simulation where they can actually play with certain things. It helps them visualize and understand things that I cannot do in the classroom otherwise. So without further ado, I'm going to go over and share my screen right now so that I am able to show you all the different interactive things that needs to be done. So just give me a second while I go over to share screen. The very first program I want to show you is called Canva. And this has changed my teaching life so much. And I'm hoping that when I show you this, that this will change your life as well. There is an automatic correction for spelling, and there's an automatic check to make sure that your grammar is correct. And as a teacher, I do feel that we need that extra assistant to just make sure when we talk about certain language in our grammar, that that is checked before we present to students. Now, I have a For You tab over here that's going to show some of my presentations, and I'm going to go through there. But you will see within this that you actually have the option to do worksheets. You have a whiteboard, you have classroom posters. If you're anything like me and love colors in your classroom, posters and the most beautiful things to design, you have all of it at your fingertips. You can create websites, videos, presentations, whiteboards, anything that you want to create, you have templates for. So I'm going to create, let's say, worksheets for the solar system. And you will see all the different options that is already created that you will have access to. And this to me is so amazing because you can see how beautiful these pictures are, and you can draw inspiration from them, use them as is, or just as a template and change them according to your like.
So if you look at all the different opportunities and things that you can do within Canva, I really hope that these different templates and options for you will get you started. The next thing that I want to do is go over to my own created work, which is under my homepage. And I'm going to show you a little presentation that I created for a classroom so that you can see what the screen looks like on my end. The nice thing is you have a design tab on the side in which you can then select templates of other designers that's already designed presentations. You can add elements and pictures, graphics, shapes, and everything that you want to, as well as add different types of style of texts or drawings, anything that you want to do to make this presentation a bit more fun and exciting for the students. The great thing about this is that you can move stuff around, you can type, and it really gives you that personal design to everything that you want to do. I'm going to show you what my design looks like, just so you can get an idea of all the stuff that I've already tapped and designed. I want to add a little part here how you can actually animate everything. What makes Canva so amazing is that if you don't have time for all these extra animations, you can just use the template as is. So I'm just going to show you, I had my learning objectives, and you'll even see that a lot of these graphics actually moves around, which also is fun to look at for students. If you go on further, you will see that there's small graphics or gifts that you can add. You can add some links to videos in there or just the website that you want to create. So I hope that this is really going to get you started in using the presentations function.
There's anything in this slide that you want to use, you can literally just add all of them here or even have comments. Within this, if you have a co-teacher or somebody that teaches with you, the most amazing thing is that you can actually go and add a collaborator that can work on that exact same slide for you. And you can download this as a PDF. You can go ahead and present the videos. So let me just show presented, and that will give you a full screen share. You can also go ahead and say, well, I want to download it. I want to share it on social media. You can embed it somewhere. There's so many options that you can even make it a PowerPoint presentation. So if you don't necessarily have access to online internet or strong internet, you can create it as a PowerPoint and then just use it from there. There's so many things. We use Google Classroom, so sometimes you can add it to Google Classroom, and you will see the amount of apps that's available here is just absolutely never ending. So for me, this has changed my teaching life to be so much more colorful, and I'm hoping that you would be able to use that as well. The next dashboard I'm going to show you is called Padlet.com. So I will just show you, if you go, I'm going to open up another tab just for in case this one goes up. If you just literally type in Padlet, you will see this little icon over here that you can download on any device. It's available as an app that you can manage from your iPad or from your cell phone or anybody else. So if you see this little iPad icon, please go ahead and download it. Use it in your classroom. It is absolutely fantastic. So once you've logged in, you then get all these different amazing tools. So if you go to home, you'll see everything that has been created. This morning, I opened up a few. This is my personal account, not my teaching account. But you can even see on the gallery all the amazing different tabs that it gives you for a gallery and ideas. And you can see that it's all activities, it's icebreakers, visual aids, task management. You can do book reviews, you can do brochures, you can do pictures, you can do chore boards, you can do compare, contrast. There is just endless abilities for you in this specific program to do. Because I'm a chemistry teacher, of course, I want to show you something that you can use for STEM, which is a lab report.
So the nice thing here is as soon as the students want to start adding their answers, let's say they have to answer about the method that they just use on this lab report. And what I want to mention with this lab report is that other students also log into this Padlet, so it's live for everybody to see. So they can just type in here my method, which is going to be their answer. And here they can add documents, they can share links, they can add videos, images that they can search online, they can draw. There's just so many functions here that they can go and add whatever their method was of answering that question to upload it in this section. So the only other thing that they can go then is they can actually go ahead and type that they have added milk and sugar in a Ziploc bag. And in another, they added salt and ice. And what they would basically do is then take this milk and sugar in the Ziploc bag and the other second Ziploc bag, they'll put the ice and the salt together and shake it until they have the instant ice cream. And the nice thing is as soon as they publish their method over here, everybody can go ahead and comment or see all their answers from that section.
You might have limited accessibility. I think you can only have 1 or 2 boards open when you've got a free account. So please don't think that the things that I'm sharing to you today is going to cost an arm and a leg. You do have prescriptions, you do have things that you can pay for, and if they're worth for you paying, please go ahead and do so. But a lot of these things are for free. You just need to delete and add new and create new things. Once I publish it, it comes up here. And what's amazing is that on the tab below, you will see every student that participates on this Padlet, their responses. And you can even say that you can reply to this Padlet. And because it's mine, it doesn't give me the different option. It gives me ways to manage the post. Somebody else that wants to click on that can literally just add the 3 buttons, say reply, which means that you will have an interactive board with a lot of different strategies to get some feedback. And this is live available to you at your home when you're not at school, even in school. And you can put it up on the whiteboard in front of the classroom if you've got access to do so. So there's just so much amazing things that you could do with this Padlet. And you can even save it for later. I mean, there's maps where you can take them around the world. I cannot tell you how much endless possibilities there are. And what I want to show to you is basically that all of these ones that I show you, there's a Learn tab in which you can actually learn how to do all of the different things. So if you're struggling with anything, most of these programs do have a section where you have a question and answer or learning tab. So I'm so excited for you with this. Flipgrid is more or less the same as a Padlet. The difference is you work with videos and not necessarily the whole board. As far as I know, Padlet opened up a new function where you can actually post videos, but it might be on the paid section only. So just double check what is the different view plans and what they cost when you want to do them. The functions I'm using here, it says I've got 2 out of 3 Padlets used, which means on the program that's free, I will have access to about 3 different Padlets. Another thing that I'm so excited to share with you today is a company called Nearpod. Nearpod has got so many functions and availabilities for teachers, including reports and the digital data, that I cannot imagine how I taught without this before. So what I will do a lot of times is I'll create my presentation on Canva and I'll upload it on Nearpod. And now you'll ask me, but why would you want a presentation on Nearpod? And the nice thing is that Nearpod is one of the only programs where if you upload a video, that halfway through the video, it actually pauses and asks a question. So I want to see if I can open up this tab for you. And obviously you can have student paced, which means it can be at home. You can do it in front of the whole class where you have access to it. So students can only view the video and then answer questions by themselves. Or you have a live participation where everybody can join a code, and you'll see it pops up as soon as it loads. It gives a classroom codes where you can then actually share it on multiple programs. And you will see once you toggle through, you can say that teacher plays or student plays. And if you continue, you will see that there's actually questions that's integrated in lesson. And once you get to the part of the lesson, it actually pops up that question, and the students can give you feedback, which makes it a lot more interactive, just having students sitting and listening to the video for this one's 11 minutes, and you are very quickly losing students within 11 minutes if the topic is not as interesting. But if you force them with every 30 or 20 minutes to actually answer a question, it makes it a lot more engaging for students to do. So within these lessons, I have a lot of stored ones here, which I let the students play. And once they've played it, they will get access and I will get a report at the end of the session. So let's just take a session that I had 4 students participate in. This was a high school group of students. And you will see that basically from the students, I will have whoever the student was, what their participation was, the video, how far did they play the video, what was their answers. So let's just go to another report as well, where I can actually see answers of the students. So if I click on here, you have an open-ended question and you'll see the participation. And if you want to go ahead and click on the actual question, let's say on this report, it actually shows the answers of the students. So you can then go and get access. Okay, well, this was the questions that was asked. This is their participation, which means that you get instant feedback. And a lot of the times you can even have quizzes that it automatically grades it for you. So as a teacher, this has saved a lot of time for me. Amazing thing is that they have a large bunch of Nearpod library. So let's go. I want to teach about the solar system. You can change your subject, you can change the grade, the part of, but let's say our focus is going to be on, let's see which one seems like it's got a few things, drag and drop activities. So let's preview this lesson. This is already a lesson that's been done. And you can add this to your lesson and then change a lot of the presentation. But here's an example of what it looks like, which makes it so interactive when the student have it on their device, because here you have the solar system and they can go ahead and drag and drop where it needs to go. Again, I cannot stress to you how much of these lessons are so interactive and keeps the students there. You'll see these are drag and drop options. Unfortunately, because of limited time, I can't show you everything, but I do want you to encourage to play around with an Nearpod and look at the different reports and the school library, the teacher resources that you have to your access. There's a lot of blogs and webinars. When I'm a teacher, I want to be on top of a lot of changes that happen. So I usually subscribe to some of these blog and live webinars as well, just to keep me posted when there's something I'm interested in and I want to learn. Again, they're similar to Padlet and Canva. They have a section that teaches you a lot of things. And it's just so great to be a part of a community that you can answer and ask questions. The next thing that I was talking about was called Kahoot and Blooket. Blooket is spelled B-L, let me type it in there for you so I can show you what it looks like. Unfortunately, I'm not going to show you that program right now, but it's called Blooket. This is the most fun game. I have seen students from the youngest grades to older grades just playing these games, going through solo games, homework games, classroom games. It's so competitive and fun in a good way that the students can answer the questions correctly. They get points, they steal points from each other. It's just so much integrated with the type of students we're working with, especially with the gamified learning. Please go check it out at home. The same with Kahoot. I do feel Blooket is a lot more interactive for the students, but they have a whole library of questions available because so many teachers are using it right now. So please make a note of it and go see that you can use that in your classroom, especially for an exit ticket or just a feedback on check if they understand what has been happening. It's the most amazing. A next program that I really like doing, especially because STEM is my focus, is called PhET Interactive. I'll go back to the searches again. It's literally, if you type in PhET Interactive, it will just pop up for you. And it's done by the University of Colorado. And again, I just love the solar system topic. It's something that when I started designing this lesson, it's just been kind of a topic I focused on, and I've got so much fun things. So you can literally just see how AI is actually working here using what I've searched in the past few days, and it just pops up. So I want to show you, if you click onto it and you log in or you do your things, you can have your simulations, you can share your activities, you can do some initiatives, but mostly I use only the simulations. And I'm going to go and say, well, chemistry is my thing. So I'm going to go over to my main subject and say, well, let's see if we can look at building a nucleus. And this, again, is free. It's not something you need to pay for. So in this case, you'll see I'll just click on it, and it gives you teaching resources or tips. Unfortunately, for you to be able to do this, you need to sign in or pay. But you will see that there's really nice activities that you can do without paying for it. It tells you the different activities that's available that you can get if you want to pay for it.
So I want to show you another section here where I'm going to build a nucleus. If you go into the simulation, you'll see it says build a nucleus. I'm going to choose the option decay just to show you what it looks like when you play around with these simulations. If I want to, for example, in an atom, add some protons, you will see as I add the protons, it will give me the amount of options of things that I can do. I have to add some more neutrons before I can create different atoms. So let's go ahead and add the protons, and you'll see the name of the atom actually changes. As soon as I remove or add a certain number of protons, you will see the half-life changes, which is what you exactly what you want to do for the students to visually see what you're trying to show or teach them. It has the symbol on the side, and you'll see eventually if I increase enough, it tells me exactly what's going to happen with natural emissions, or if I have a beta decay, how that actually changes the atom.
It actually shows charts that you can do. This is unfortunately a very high level. So I want to see if I can show you out of the simulations a more easier one. Let's go to density, just so that it's more accessible for everybody to understand. So let's go to density. Let's play the first one. Teaching resources about. You will see here that in this case, it's actually giving you all the different options that you can use, how it looks like.
So I'll start showing you density. This is another PhET interactive simulation that we can use. If I press play, this is going to be a better indication for a lot of you that might not know atoms or not using STEM as much. Density is something that you can definitely use in more classrooms. You will see here that it throws in a block with kilograms, and it actually shows the volume and how that relates to the density of, let's say, humans, glass, titanium, steel, copper. And what's so nice about this is you can actually say that you want to add more blocks. And on the side over here, the option is there for you to actually change and increase the mass. You can increase the volume, and you will see automatically how that actually affects all the different blocks. Now I can change the block size to wood, and you'll see how that changes the mass, just the type of material because of the different density types. So let's say block B, I'm going to change to aluminium, and you'll see how that compare or increases. And hopefully as the students play along with these simulation, they can visually actually relate to what's happening in the real world, which makes it fun for them to learn.
So with this PhET Interactive, you have so many different options that's already available to you that you can integrate into your lesson planning just to make it very fun. You'll see that the most subjects here that will benefit from it is your STEM subjects. So if there's anything in this that you can use in your lesson, please go ahead and try. The very last thing I want to show you has not been on the slide, but it's definitely a tool I want you to be aware of. And I'm just going to show it to you because when people talk about AI, they get totally freaked out because it's so new and there's so many stories about it. But there is an AI specialized for a teacher. I do have a bit of an unfair advantage in this case because I do pay for the paid version. It just makes my life so much easier and quicker to focus on lesson planning and focus on integrated learning and making sure that I have the students engaged and plan wonderful lessons for them. That this program spends time on creating content. And if I have a question or I struggle about ideas or how do I take the lesson further, this program has helped me so much getting through that. So I want to show you Magic School. This is what it looks like. You can see the absolute amount of tools that you have to your availability here. I'm just scrolling through it. If you ever are interested in AI, I would highly recommend you to try and learn about this. They have a whole training section that you can go through, and you can be part of a community that can answer questions for you. So if you're interested in AI, this is the one that I highly recommend through everything. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can go over back to the presentation. I hope that you were able to follow along with a lot of these things. Okay, so let's go over to interactive activities. I want to show you some more. So with the hands-on learning approach, it is really important for you that you have these tools, but that you don't just have the tools where it's digital, but you actually do put out hands-on activities where the students do learn in the classroom, where they physically work with their hands outside of a device. I don't believe in having a lesson more than 20 minutes long where the students are in the device because their concentration span doesn't go longer than that. So please make sure when you integrate these lessons that you only give them about 15 or 20 minutes, that you allow them to work on the device. The benefit of it is that if you have hands-on activity, you definitely have motivated students. And a way that I do this is I do a interactive learning center. Now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again because I want to show you what a lesson plan looks like with these actual lesson plans. So when I go over to my share screen, this is what my lesson would look like. For a lesson center or a learning center, it means that I have 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 30 minutes, depending on how long your lesson is. You basically can say, look, I'm going to go and see what type of activities can I have in my classroom where the students are hands-on. So my learning objective here is that I wanted to teach the students about all the sun and the solar system. And I wanted to make sure that I have different approaches for their learning. Instead of me standing in front of the classroom explaining things, I was going to give them different experiences. So I would have 4 different stations in which I have, depending on the class size, let's say it's a class of 16 or 20 students, 5, 6, or 4 students together grouped. And within each center, I will have something available for them with materials, and I will give them an activity with something that they need to do or a question that they need to answer, a little sheet that they need to do. So let's say the first thing is a model center where I give them styrofoam bowls, paint, strings, makers, and I give them 10 minutes at the station, or I give them 8 minutes at the station and tell them, you have 8 minutes to then model the following. And you set up a timer and you let all the stations go together. At the 8th of that 8 minutes, you let the stations rotate. So it means you go over to the next section where you have your second center. The group that was at the modeling will then move over to the next section. And here they will have a view. And this can also be something that's interactive where you use your PhET interactive, you have a device. At this point, you can literally have one device at that center. You don't need students to have their individual devices there. Or you can have one that's already built that they can interact, look at, touch, where they can use references, books, things around them that they can answer sheets for. The energy system is where they can build their own solar panel using the sun to produce light. You give them the instructions and you tell them, you have 8 minutes to have a little mini solar system that you can buy with a light source and a little fan. You give them the instructions and tell them, please, at the 8 minutes, you need to, as a group, walk out with a mini solar system. Another activity example here would be a clip simulation, which would also be on a device or a video or a flashlight or an actual thing that I do. These are examples of materials that you can do. I want to tell you, open up the world and tell yourself, look, in one of these simulations, I don't have to have a physical thing. I can literally add one section where there's a digital device. And so you will go through the introduction, you'll have your learning centers, and you will come back, collect data, discuss and reflect as a whole group all the learning objectives, and end the lesson with an exit ticket. So this is an example of what a learning center looks like. I'm going to stop my screen and I'm going to go over to the presentation again. The next slide talks about interactive activities. Here are so many new things that I didn't talk about, but the STEM related. So if you're interested in STEM, you can literally look at Lego Education, Sphero, Osmo Coding. It really helps the student education programs that you can look at with robots, building Lego, making it work, learning how to code. You have virtual reality systems that goes, Nearpod is one of the VR systems. If you have those VR systems, you can add that. And you also have very nice reading comprehensive apps like Epic and ReadWorks. Epic is for free, where you can have books and improve their reading with quizzes, and it's all on the devices to improve the literacy. What I do like about Epic is that their library sometimes have STEM integrated things. It's got a library of books that's not just related to reading. It's also got things that they can explore a little bit more. I personally use it for my son, and I would highly suggest teachers to make use of Epic in their classroom if you want to enhance learning and reading skills for your lower language learner, because it's so important to make sure that they actually understand the vocabulary, and that's a really fun tool to use digitally to do so. So we'll go over to the next slide. I want you to take away out of all of these things that you have to combine digital tools with the face-to-face learning. We are social beings, and it's really important for us to have that interaction from peer to peer, teacher to teacher, the classroom discussions. 70 to 80%, 60% of the learning in your lesson will happen due to peer and peer interaction. Now, I'm going to tell you something funny. Me, as a student in classroom, I could not listen to a monotonous voice. My mind was always off to something. I was always drawing. And so a lot of the times the teacher would spend 15 minutes of the lesson explaining what to do, and I had no clue what to do. And the only thing I would do is turn over to my friend and be like, hey, what are we supposed to do? And then my friend would always tell me, I don't know, let's figure it out. So that's exactly what I want to say, is that in classrooms, we have peer-to-peer learning. We know this is happening. And I want to encourage you as a teacher to exactly utilize that and say, well, instead of me telling you what to do, maybe I give you the materials and you figure it out. And if you have a question, come ask me or approach me. So I give them all the tools to then be active instead of just being passive and listening to everything. So that is my integration strategy to make sure that we have the digital, the human, we're putting everything together to give them that experience together. So if you go to the very last slide that I'll be talking so much is tips for educator. If you've never done this before and it's new to you, please make sure to start small. If you looked at the example that I gave for the learning lesson, a lot of them was hands-on approach. And there was, most of them, you don't even need a device or a simulation, or you have the option to bring in a device for a quick center, which will be 10 minutes of your learning. You can also have an exit ticket that's digital, or you can have an entry where you have a starting activity that's 5 minutes that's on a device. So please don't think about, oh, I need to have digital tools, that it needs to be something that my whole lesson is digital tools. Move away from that and start small. If you feel that it's overwhelming as a teacher, can you imagine how overwhelmed the students might be? So if you want to use one of the tools that I have given you in the library, and I've given you a small library of what is possible, pick one. Pick one, start with one, start small, integrate that into your lessons and see how it can work. professional development is the second tool. The only reason I know what I know today is because I put myself out there. And when I heard about Canva, I made sure that I learned. I watched videos, I spent time learning about it. That professional development, as much as you get the best learning and theory, the only thing that you learn how to drive a car is when you actually get into the car and learn. Real world connections literally make sure that you have professional development, that you have that connection to real world connections, so that it's actually something that students can relate to. So make sure that you understand where they're at in their life, what they're doing, how they're doing it, and if they can connect to where they are, and just make it applicable to them. If they don't understand what it is you're talking about, and I'll use the half-life example. If you don't understand what is half-life or beta decay, that example simulation had no meaning or connection to you. Where if you know about density, that will have a lot more connection to you. So make sure that you can do that. Gather feedback, adjust. So at the end of this lesson, you will see that we're going to gather and we're going to practice exactly that. Gather feedback, gain insights, adjust, and make it better. So I want to go over to the next slide. The conclusion that I want to take away here is that this transformation, you would need collaboration, whether it's a digital collaboration, a friend. You need to be very patient with yourself, be patient with your students in this transition to make sure that you can create higher levels of education. You can be such a big change in the classroom and inspire other students and teachers. If you have tools, you've learned things, don't keep it for yourself. Rather go ahead and share it with students, share it with teachers. Hey, this is a new tool. How about we use this? This is a new tool. How about we apply this? If you've got a co-teacher, work with them. That is the best way to do education. And we need to really make sure that we evolve and don't keep things for ourselves. As we're moving into a direction where knowledge is vastly available everywhere, we need to make sure that we apply that knowledge and become clever about how we use it. And that's going to give you that edge to be better in the digital age. So that would be my conclusion for you. I want to go over to the last slide, which is going to be a Q&A section. This is a QR code. And before we're going to go over to you guys giving me feedback. So you're going to go ahead and scan that. But wait, before you do it, I'm going to share my screen once more because I want to show you how I use this as an exit ticket in my classrooms. So let's just quickly go to my slide and share this with you. So this would be the very last thing, is the Mentimeter. Now, these are the questions that's going to be asked to you. And I use this Mentimeter as a quick QR code, questions, answers. If you go onto the free version, you get 1 out of 50 participants. And you will see that there's a few questions over here that I'm going to ask you. One of them being a word cloud. I absolutely love word clouds because you can actually use this as an entry ticket into the next lesson, where you asked a question or you had answers there that you can address in the next lesson. And you can even make it anonymous. So I want to show you here, if you have results, you can actually go and look at your results online. It shows you exactly what's been doing. And that's where the data-driven information comes from, is once you see the data, you can see who struggled with your stuff, what is the feedback, and you can change and adjust your teaching strategies based on that. And what you also can do is, once you do this presentation, you can share it with others, you can collaborate with others. You can also go ahead, and I just want to see, because it did change the view here. If you've done the results, I'm sorry for this waiting. I just want to make sure, and obviously everything is integrated in AI. I'm not even going to touch that on right now. I just want to see the view. Here, present. I'm so sorry for not getting it right now. Manage results. I wanted to show you what the screen's going to look like, but I can't find it right now. So I'm so sorry about the glitch. But you will see in the participation, not here. In the participation, they will have another share screen where they don't show the results. So basically in that slide, you will see that if they have any device, whether it's a phone or an iPad or a computer, once they type in memeti.com, so they can either use memeti.com and use the code or use the QR code, they will have the ability to give that response to you. I see somebody right here, very interesting, good, learned a lot, liked it. You can then present this into the next lesson and literally give feedback on this. And I'll show you on the next lesson to say, look, here's my responses. Let's talk about this in the next lesson, which gives you immediate feedback. So please take the time to do exactly that. Do the feedback on the QR code, take about a minute or so, and then I'll give this over to Dawn. Thank you so much for listening and for your time.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. Hello, everybody. My name is Portia. I am the PGCE coordinator at SACAP. And then I just want to say thank you so much to Tiffany. What a amazing webinar that we've had. We've learned so much about the useful things that you can do in the classroom. Please put your questions in the Q&A box, and then we will have a live Q&A sessions right now where Tiffany will be answering all of your questions. So let me just go to the Q&A box. So we'll start with Mashudi. She or he says, hello, are these tools applicable to all ages? You can go ahead and answer, Tiffany.
Thank you so much for the question. And this is such a great question. Yes, especially things like Nearpod, they are integrated from very young ages, and you will see that the gamified learning or drag and drop tools that's available on Nearpod is specific to students, so you can go and change their subjects and grade levels. The awesome thing about Canva, the very first tool that I showed you, is that it is so colorful and so interactive to have these worksheets and colors in your classroom. I would say that that's one of the best way of learning is by visually adding these things. So they are definitely applicable. The only thing that I would say is very STEM related is PhET Interactive, or maybe the STEM related information that I gave you. I always found that it's almost easier to find literature and research things for language or other subjects that might not always be available for STEM. And that's why I focused a little bit more on that. That is my lesson part. But I do want to say that all of these lessons or Blookets or extra tools that I gave you, if you go onto them, you can definitely adjust them for all ages, all classrooms, all students. And that's what's so fun about digital learning, is that these things can be adjusted according to what you like. And like I said, I'm showing you what I'm doing, but you can literally put your own flavor and color and everything to it. So I'm excited to hopefully hear from you and see how that has worked for you. And hopefully that has been helpful for you.
All right, thanks, Tiffany. We also have a question from Abigail who says, do you provide asynchronous activity after each class? Are they mostly group, individual discussion offline? And what, in your experience, works best? Some students can feel overwhelmed, but it is important to give them solidified learning.
So for me, feedback is so important, and feedback can happen in so many different ways. If you have students who are less willing to speak in a classroom environment, I make sure that I have 3 or 4 different checkpoints during the classroom at any given point. And that would be making sure that somebody can answer, ask questions, speak to their peers, write a question, or verbally confirm something. And that's also got to do with something that's really important as a teacher, and that is know your students. Take the time to understand what is their learning abilities. Take the time to understand what is their needs, and make sure that you incorporate those strengths in your classroom in one way or another. When I have students who are very shy, who doesn't want to talk, I won't necessarily call on them to say, and I'm going to use Portia as an example. Portia, would you answer me that question? Because I know that they're not comfortable with that. Let's say Portia, and this is an example, might be a little shyer. The way that I would say is, hey, Portia, I have a piece of paper, and I know she's a strong writer. Could you please tell me in your own words, what do you think about this? If you want to do it in a group collective thing, you can have various strategies in your classroom and adjust according to the needs of this classroom. And the only tip I can give you is try them and see how your students respond. I have had one class or one grade group where grade 7s were 175 students. We had 7 elements or 7 different grade groups that I was teaching, and I would have the exact same content, very different experiences in each different classroom or element that I was teaching, because they're so different in personalities. So for you, the best tip I would give you when you do these online discussions, group discussions, and students feeling overwhelmed is, number 1, know your students and take the time to adjust and use the feedback to adjust the lesson accordingly.
All right, thank you, Tiffany. We have another one, another question from Abigail, who says, how long does it typically take to prepare for a sessions, and how can you do this efficiently, but also make it engaging?
So prep time is the time I spend most. I'll be 100% honest with you. It is really important for me as a teacher because I'm not necessarily standing in front and teaching. I find it very easy to just have a presentation and talk in front. If you do prepare a lesson that's very engaging, you do have materials to prepare, you do need to think, you do need to spend a little bit more time to take that step further. How do I make this engaging? And it's the tools that I'm using today that's really saving me so much time with, for example, Nearpod or Magic School AI. I literally have access to the AI questionnaire. And what I would do if I'm struggling with ideas is that I will go to AI and type questions. If I'm teaching solar systems, or if I need to have students more engaged in learning, the vocabulary, how would I approach this? And these AI, with all the feed information of all the different websites and webinars, they give fantastic feedback. And if I'm not happy, I will just say, can we please adjust the following? And with that answer, it spends less time in thinking and the idea sharing, because that was the thing that took the most time for me in the beginning. Now that I'm learning how to use the tools more effectively and asking the right questions and making adjustments, my lessons has become a lot easier. And I would say the very first year of doing a specific subject, or a second year, the first 2 years is usually the hardest when you're not used to the curriculum or content. It's when you're getting new content and curriculum in designing those things that it is a little bit more challenging and taking time to prepare a session. If I would say preparation time for a day, I would say that I spend about 2 hours a day in prepping for my lessons. And I also make sure that I'm one unit or one content session ahead at least, to help me in making sure that I have enough time to get materials and plan for what I need.
All right, thank you, Tiffany. Another one from Abigail, who says, can you include an animation in your Canva presentation? For an example, having bullet points float in when you click the pointer.
Thanks, Abigail. Yes, I agree. The questions has been so amazing. So please keep them coming. It's so exciting to hear your feedback and these questions. Abigail, to answer that question, the animations, you usually have a template that already has these animations for you. But if you want to go ahead and do it individually, spend that time, yes, you do have the functions to do so. My personal preference is to have a template that has most of these things ready, because I do want to spend more time in focusing on the learning for the students rather than prepping presentations and making it beautiful. And that's why I love Canva so much, is because it's got the functionality. If you're a person that's so focused on the detail and the way that you send everything in, yes, they have all the functions for the creativity. And if you've got a person who's more I don't have the time for doing all these individual things, you have the templates available. So yes, you definitely have both functions available on Canva.
All right, unfortunately, that is time, and I can see all the questions that are coming up. I am so sorry. But thank you so much for joining today's webinar. We really appreciate it. Please keep up to date with all the events and the programs that we have and all the updates. They will be on our social media. Once again, thank you so much to all the people that came in today, the attendees, and also the panelists for joining us this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day and keep warm. Thank you.